All right, we are starting our next lesson. Make sure you have your notes out in front of you and a calculator. Let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to talk about unit rates. So we've been talking about rates and using ratio tables. So now we're going to do a little bit different. So let me explain to you what a rate might be. So let's look at this picture right here. So I have 5 candy bars. This might be an ad from a newspaper. So I can get these 5 candy bars for $6.75. But what if I don't want 5 candy bars? What if I only want that candy bar? So I would like to figure out how much just one of those candy bars cost. So a unit rate would just be figuring out how much one thing is, okay? So it's going to be comparing something to one. So if I didn't want all 6 candy bars, I didn't want to pay the $6.75, I only want to pay for one candy bar, trying to figure out how much one costs. A unit rate is always out of 1. It's comparing something to 1, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and write some of these on your notes, and then we'll do some examples. So a ratio is a comparison of 2 quantities, 2 things, like we've done boys to girls, blue to white stars. We looked at piano keys, things like that. That's comparing 2 things. A rate is then a comparison of 2 quantities, but they have different units, okay? Like miles to kilometers, inches to feet, minute to seconds, things like that. But the unit rate is always going to compare that quantity to 1, or it has a denominator of 1. All right, so let me go ahead and pause the video if you need to and write those down. Let me get you some more examples of that. So a ratio is comparing things that are similar together. Okay, so these might be some of them. But we're going to work on rates right now. These are the ones that you are most probably used to. For the most part, rates are going to deal with time, distance, or money. Time, distance, or money. So words per minute, miles per hour, how many miles per gallon, things like that. Okay? So let's do some examples so you kind of understand what in the world I'm talking about. All right, so this is on your notes again. So let's just say right now that my rate, I can drive 90 miles in 3 hours. But a unit rate means I want to figure out how far I can go in 1 hour. So I want my denominator here to be 1. Okay, I want my denominator to be 1. So you got to figure out, how did I go from 3 to 1? I just divided by 3. Okay, I just divided by 3. So if I divide the top by 3, I would get 30. So that means I can go 30 miles in 1 hour. So 30 miles per hour. Okay. Okay. Let's look at the next one. So if I have 108 cookies in 6 boxes, a unit rate is I want to know how many cookies are in just 1 box. Just 1 box. Okay. So again, I'm going to divide 6 divided by 1. And so up here, I would divide by 6 as well. Okay. Divide by 6. And I get 18 cookies. Okay. So you might see, instead of going here, all you're doing, remember, isn't this just the division bar here? So you're just dividing the top number by the bottom number. You're dividing 108 divided by 6. That's going to give me that unit rate, okay? What I think is going to be very important right now, and I'm going to require this, is that you set up this ratio. Each time you're going to set up the ratio, okay? So just like with the ratio tables, you did let me know that it did help you when you wrote out the ratio tables. All right, so let's do some more examples. All right, Miss Douglas rides her bike about 36 miles in 4 hours. If she maintains that speed, how many miles can she read each hour? The way that you set up the ratio table is important. If you look at the bottom here, each hour, that means I want to figure out how far she goes in 1 hour. So hours needs to be on bottom. So hours needs to be on bottom. So we are comparing miles to hours. So miles needs to be on top, hours needs to be on bottom. So right now she goes 36 miles in 4 hours, but what I want to figure out is how far she goes in just 1 hour, okay? Because that would be my unit rate. I always want my denominator to be 1, okay? So you simply now take your calculator and go 36 divided by 4. That would give me 9 miles, okay? So the way that you read that, if I can spell right, and the way that you read that is just 9 miles per hour, okay? You don't need to write this and this. I'm just kind of letting you know that. But I do want to see that ratio set up, okay? If you set it up wrong, the top, if you mix this part up, it's going to mix up your answer over here, okay? All right, so let's look at this one. Calvin drove 456 miles in 8 hours. So I'm looking at miles and hours. How far did he drive in 1 hour? So hours, I want to know 1, so hours needs to be on bottom. Okay, so 456 miles in 8 hours. And I want to know how far he went in 1 hour. So grab your calculator, put 456, because I'm doing that too, 456 divided by 8, and that comes up to be 57. And it's 57 miles, because that's what my top number is looking at. Okay, so in 1 hour, he can go 57 miles, okay? The nice thing about a unit rate is once you know a unit rate, then I can figure out how far he goes in any amount of hours. So if I wanted to know how far he went in 5 hours, I would simply multiply the 57 that he goes in 1 hour, and I would multiply that by 5, and that would tell me how far he went in those 5 hours, okay? That's what's nice about a unit rate, finding a unit rate. All right, so why don't you set this one up and set it up, and then I will check your answer, okay? Pause the video. All right, did you set it up right? So we're looking at words per minute. Minute should be on bottom because I want to know how far she goes in 1 minute, okay? So grab your calculator, 144 divided by 4 comes up to be 36 words, okay? So she can type 36 words in a minute, which is more than what I can do. Okay. Look at the next one. A school has 825 students and there's 55 teachers. The question is how many students per teacher? Per, that word per there kind of indicates too that we are looking at one teacher. We're looking for one teacher. So let's set up my ratio. So I want teachers on bottom because I want to figure out how much per one teacher. So 825 students to 55 teachers. Okay, and I want to know how many students there are for every one teacher. Okay, remember that word per means one. Per means one. Okay, all right, so grab your calculator. 825 divided by 55 equals 15. 15 students. So that means for every 15 kids, there is a teacher. So if I had 30 kids, there would be 2 teachers. If I had 45 kids, there'd be 3 teachers. You notice that that just looks like a ratio table? Okay, just looks like a ratio table. All right. I want you to pause the video and I want you to do the first 2 questions and then I'll come back for your answers. Pause the video and come back with your answers. Set up those ratios. I want to see them written down with words. All right, check those answers. Okay. Make sure that you know what's on bottom. Each avocado, so that means avocados are going to be on bottom. Each donut means donuts are going to go on bottom. For the most part, dollars will be on top unless they say something differently, okay? And I say that as there's an example right here. Let's check this one out. Tiffany pays $40 for 160 minutes of talk time on her cell phone. How many minutes of talk time does she get per dollar? So in this case, dollars are going to be on bottom, okay? But mostly all the other times you want to figure out how much something is per item instead of per dollar. So we're going to put our minutes on top, 160 minutes, and for $40, okay? And I want to know how much it is per dollar. So for $1, for $1, okay? So for $1. So 160 divided by 40 would be 4. So she gets 4 minutes of talk time and it cost her $1. Okay, all right. All right, why don't you pause the video? Let's look at this one. And you've got 2 things. We're comparing actually one bottle of shampoo and the second bottle of shampoo. I want to know which one, actually I'll do this one with you. Which one is the better deal? Which one has cost the least? So if I can buy $6 of shampoo and I get 8 ounces, or a bottle costs $4 for 5 ounces, I want to know which one is the better rate, which one costs less. So in order to do that, I want to know how much it is per ounce. Per ounce. Okay, so that means ounces needs to go on bottom. Ounces needs to go on bottom. So for the first one, it cost me $6 for 8 ounces, but I want to know how much 1 ounce cost. Okay, the second one, I can get $4 for 5 ounces, but I want to know how much 1 ounce costs. So why don't you go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and figure out which one is the better deal. All right, if I look at these, when this one came up, it came up 0.8. So our money system has 2 numbers. So that next number would be a 0 there. So that's 80 cents, okay? So actually, this bottle is cheaper because it's only 75 cents for 1 ounce, whereas this one is 80 cents. This one is 5 cents more. So this is my cheaper cost, okay? All right, all right. I'm going to set you up with 1, and then you're going to do the next 5 for your exit slip. So 78 points in 6 games. I want to know how many points he had per game. Per game. So that means games needs to go on bottom. So 78 points and 6 games. Okay. Equals, I want 1 game. So you'd grab your calculator. 78 divided by 6. 78 divided by 6. And that gives you 13 points. 13 points. Okay. Per game, 13 points per game. Okay. All right. You pause it. You finish these up, and I will check them as your exit slip. Have a great day.